Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. It's Mock Draft Monday, and we're taking a look at another 2023 NFL Mock Draft. We got a provocative one for you guys. Before we get into it, I just wanted to say thank you, as always, for all the support you guys are showing the channel. If you guys do like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. I love talking college football with all you guys in the comment section. Dill, without further ado, let's start talking some football. Will Levis going number 1 overall to the Houston Texans.
It's so insane to not have either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud on the board. And I will grant you, I think the number 3 spot is up for grabs. I don't think that – I mean, obviously, unless something crazy happens with the other two, they're going 1 and 2, undoubtedly. Yeah. The order, debatable. But they are. And then the number 3 spot, fine. Like, do I think Will Levis right now is the number 3? No. But he maybe does have the ceiling to be that guy if he puts a really good year out. But number 1, it's like you need to think like an asteroid's going to hit the Earth more likely than
Will Levis.
Both of those two are going to regress that much, or Will Levis is going to like be a night and day different player.
Yeah, the thing with Will Levis is you said it best. His ceiling is really high. I mean, he's got a tight end build, he's got a rocket arm, but he's got to put it on the field a little bit more. 13 turnovers. And just in that offense, they just don't ask him to do much. The number 2 pick, and I'm going to start us off with a really hot take. I tweeted it out earlier. I think Bryan Bresee is just as good as Jalen Carter. I mean, I'm watching Bryan Bresee the first game of the season last year before he goes down with the ACL. I mean, he's like dominating some of the interior offensive linemen from Georgia, like draft picks.
Bryan Bresee is not a sleeper per se, but like in respect that he could arguably be a top 3 pick, he kind of is a sleeper at this point in the draft.
Yes.
It seems like people think he's like easily out of the top 10, maybe top 20. But the size, speed, athleticism, and strength combo that he possesses is like very, I think, almost as unique as I've ever seen. Like he almost looks like J.J. Watt good on the field.
And I exactly. And I feel like people are treating Jalen Carter like he's some sort of, I mean, he's an awesome player. You know, I don't want to have the Georgia fans getting mad at me about me sleeping on Jalen Carter. But Bryan Bresee, I think, is just out there. I think there are 2 guys who could definitely go top 5. And then at number 3, we got CJ Stroud, which makes sense. I mean, he's the next. I mean, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are the 2 best quarterbacks in the class. We've already talked a bunch of those guys, so we'll kind of go through that pick because, Dill, at number 4, they got one of your boys in Zion Nelson.
This guy must have not watched this current season. He must have just been watching 2 years ago when, in fairness, Zion Nelson put together a year that I said he was going to be a top 5 tackle coming into the draft in 22. So,
yeah.
Do I think he has the ceiling to do it?
Absolutely.
I think he could easily be the number 1 tackle, but the play on the field just needs to go back to the form it was when he was a true sophomore and probably a step forward. So, he can be that guy, but it was weird watching his junior versus sophomore. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, well, because he took such a big jump from his freshman year, his true freshman year, to his sophomore year. And then a lot of the projections of him going in the top 20 in the 2022 draft was like, you're going to make that next step that you made kind of similar to your freshman to sophomore year. We just didn't see that step happen. But the athleticism, the former tight end in high school, like he certainly has that. Then we got Bryce Young going pick 5. This would be a steal for the Giants if it happened. Bryce Young is not going outside of the top 3. Pick 6, Will Anderson.
No, he's the best player in the draft, pure dominance on the field. I think he 100%, in my mind, is the best player. He was so good last year.
I mean, as good as Jalen Carter is, Will Anderson is simply a more impactful player. You don't even need to look, and I'm not saying scout on the box score, but you can just look at the box score. He just is all over the field. Then you got a guy like Tyler Van Dyke. Again, we've talked the quarterbacks. Tyler Van Dyke's sample size is small, but the arm talent is certainly there where he can be a top 10 pick.
And the play, in fairness, was really pretty good. Like, it was probably better than what Will Levis was at the peak of what he was doing last year. So,
again, my worry for Tyler Van Dyke is just the offensive weapons around him are dreadful coming into the year.
Yeah, but if he's really good, he'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's true. Myles Murphy at 8, one of my favorite players in the draft. I could see him go as high as like a top 5 pick. I think he's certainly a top 10 prospect as it stands now. And then Noah Sewell, Dill, your favorite linebacker. Give us a little Noah Sewell breakdown here.
I just think Noah Sewell I'll say, like, he came in as a freshman and really played well, led their defense for the most part in Oregon. And he just has the athleticism, the size, strength, all that like you could see being an all-pro someday. And I don't know that you can right now say the same about the other linebackers in this class, with the exception of maybe Justin.
Maybe his running mate, yeah. Noah Sewell's a guy that came in at what? I think he played his true freshman at 260 pounds, which is, for one, as an 18-year-old kid, that's wild to be that big. But two, the second year, he showed a little bit more of, like, I don't know if he necessarily slimmed down, but he looked way better of a mover. If he puts, like, another year of, like, improvement on tape, he's going to be we don't see linebackers normally go that high. He could be a guy that could be justified as a top 10 pick. Pick 10, Eli Ricks. I know the discussion, Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks. Dill, you watched a little Eli Ricks. He's definitely a projection because he didn't play much at LSU. He was one of the highest guys in the transfer portal. Bama cornerbacks don't normally miss, though.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Eli Ricks is you need to just see a steady year of football where it's just no issues, no, like, seems like just that. Like, he needs to put a Derek Stingley freshman year out there type thing where it's just wire to wire really good. Because you're right. It's like through injuries and everything, you haven't seen enough of him. But obviously the college coaches know he's awesome because everyone wanted him so bad.
Yeah. I agree with that take. He just needs to put a solid year. And then we got Peter Skoronski, our number one tackle so far. Again, we haven't gotten too deep into the tackle class, but from what we've seen about Peter Skoronski, he is absolutely nails. And then we got Cam Smith. Dill, I'll take this. He's a guy that was very good last year and doesn't seem to be getting the respect he deserves. Now,
is he a slot guy more?
Yeah, he plays. Yeah, he plays in the nickel a lot, which probably will hurt his stock when you're comparing him to like a Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks. But you're seeing an increasingly amount of emphasis on getting good nickel cornerbacks. I mean, the NFL, you play nickel most of your snaps on defense now. Cam Smith's a guy, and he's also very active in the run game, which is a massive trait for a guy being in the slot as a nickelback. Because if you're going to be taking that role as like the third linebacker on the field, you got to come up in the box and you got to be able to tackle. And he can do that. Would I be surprised if he goes this high? Yes, but I do think he's a very good football player. And then probably the biggest projection, maybe outside of Zion Nelson in the draft, we got Arik Gilbert going 13. You just got to see it on the field. I mean,
that's the thing. It's like you just haven't seen a full year of – and granted, the moments he's been on, he's really good. So I could – and I know George is saying he's slimming back down to like the weight he was at LSU where they want him probably in the 240 range.
Yeah.
And be more of that Kyle Pitts-ish type guy.
Which
who's to say if he doesn't put a great year out there? Like, he's wildly talented.
And that's the thing is this isn't that for like everyone's saying there's no way he can go in the top 15. Like, he certainly can because the buzz around this dude and the traits that he has are top 10 worthy pick. Like, he can be the best tight end in the class, even over Michael Mayer. It's just you got to see that on the field. Obviously missed all of last year. He flashed as a true freshman. But this year is, if he wants to break out, it's got to be this year. My only concern is there are so many tight ends in that room.
There are good tight ends.
Kirby and that offensive staff are going to need to figure out a way where they can have Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, and Arik Gilbert on the field and being productive.
Gilbert's probably need to play wide out. If he wants consistent snaps, he's probably going to need to find a way to play on the edge. Because Darnell Washington, is not going to be playing on the edge. Brock Bowers is more of an inline tight end than Arik Gilbert, probably. So he probably needs to play wide out, which may not be a bad thing because, as you saw, Kyle Pitts made all his money playing wide out, not tight end.
Now, don't forget, Arik Gilbert came into Georgia last year. Like, in the summer, he was supposed to be a wide receiver. That's what they had him come in for. So we'll see what they do with him. My worry, again, is just, is he going to get enough chance to kind of show that he's a top 20 player in this draft class? And then you got Paris Johnson, who you can't really go wrong with. He's going to play tackle this year, and he looks like the perfect tackle. He's played guard, so you have that position versatility. So if he doesn't work at tackle, he can be a good guard. But he's a guy that's
the problem is there are some really good tackles maybe on like an Anton Harrison type player. Somebody, maybe even the kid from USC is really pretty good too, where they've played really good left tackle or good football at left tackle. And of course, the worry with Paris Johnson is you've just seen him play right guard for two years, or really 1.5 years or so, and he's not going to get picked high as a guard. He's not really a body type of a guard, and so if he's going to go high in this draft, he's got to be a premier left tackle.
And I'll tell you a sleeper that you mentioned, Anton Harrison. I certainly have him over Paris Johnson right now in terms of tackle. Project Jones. I think he has a high percentage chance. I think he can certainly work himself into the top 20 range. I mean, this dude can play. Amarius Mims was in the portal because Project Jones was better than him. He obviously comes back to Georgia. Project Jones is a guy to watch at that tackle position. I'm interested if we'll see him later on in this draft. Pick 15, we got Kayshon Boutte out of LSU.
Whoa.
It does seem a little, they're low on him.
These wideouts are proving to be extraordinarily valuable if you look at the contract. And Kayshon Boutte feels like, I mean, he's number 1 and 2 by far for me at wideout, and I think he's a top 10 player. Like the size and athleticism he plays with, and he's an explosive player. I don't know. I think this.
And you said it best. If we're projecting towards that 2023 NFL draft, we're really just talking prospects right now, but in terms of position value, you're seeing the NFL value those rookie wide receivers because the wide receiver market is disgusting right now. It's like the Florida real estate prices. It's just way up here. Christian Kirk just jacked up the NFL. So you're going to see a kind of a run on those wide receivers. And to talk about the prospect of Kayshon Boutte, he is screaming A.J. Brown to me. I mean, he's a physical receiver who has breakaway speed in the open field. He's a monster after the catch. He works the middle of the field so well. Kind of like A.J. Brown does. I like his game a lot. And then you have Michael Mayer going 16 to the Patriots. Tight end 1 right now. And I have a hard time seeing Arik Gilbert have the year to move himself over Michael Mayer. I mean, everything you want in a tight end Michael Mayer has. The only negative that this kid even came close to having was a few drops last year. And that is a big no-no for the tight ends. But I don't see a world where he doesn't clean that up. Hopefully they get a little bit more better QB play, but just some more explosive QB play. Like, let Michael Mayer cook. I mean, he had 850 yards. This is a guy
and they could use another target because he gets all the attention, and he deserves it because he's the best pass catcher on that team last year. But obviously that he does get his share of the field, if you will.
I say this all the time. They don't call him Baby Gronk for nothing. He legitimately has those traits. Really, really special tight end. Devin Leary.
I love this.
Devin
Leary could be QB3 100%. He plays at NC State, and NC State doesn't run like an offense that I feel like people appreciate for a quarterback play at least. But if you watch the jump he made from 2021 to 2022, night and day difference. Like Devin Leary became the part of the reason, or a good chunk of the reason NC State was winning football games. And if he's a guy who can take another step, 100% could be QB3. He's really good.
See, my only problem is, and this guy said it right, Leary has the game manager tools. Like, that's kind of what I think Devin Leary is. When you're looking for a first-round quarterback, give me some more juice.
He could be Kenny Pickett, though, good. I mean, that's
but Kenny Pickett doesn't go in the first round if the quarterback class is like this. Like, Kenny Pickett is limited.
You think the QB3 is there's a guy who's undoubtedly good?
You're telling me
have their issues past the top 2.
Anthony Richardson, Jaron Hall, Spencer Rattler, Will Levis. You could throw in maybe a Cameron or Jay Kaner.
Those are
all projections, but you're telling me all 5 of those aren't gonna
not one of them
Devin Leary?
Not one of them played as well as Devin Leary last year.
But in terms of traits, if even 2 of those guys put together a decent year, they're going over Devin Leary. And I don't hate Devin Leary. I think he's an awesome college quarterback. I just don't think he has anything.
That's inherently he's very good. I don't.
You can't pick a game manager with the top 20 pick. You just can't.
Oh, you definitely can.
6'1", 215. Brandon Joseph going 18. This is a guy that was in the talks of being the best safety in the class this time last year, playing at Northwestern. Horrible year. he did not look good. I mean, he missed a bunch of tackles. He just, quite frankly, looked slow. He didn't look very in touch with the game. It's hard to look good in that Northwestern team last year. So he comes into Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman and the fellas. I expect him to look better, but he does need to significantly get back to that sophomore year form if he wants to go in the top 20. And then we got our guy, Jaxon Smith-Njigba at pick 19. And this is starting to pick up some steam. Jaxon Smith-Njigba was arguably the best receiver last year. Probably should have won the Blitnikoff Award. But what I'm hearing concerns is like the top end speed. Is it there? And is he only a slot guy? And so those are some two things that are kind of pushing him down a little bit of people's boards.
My issue with that comp is I feel like when he was the guy on the edge in the Rose Bowl, he was really good. And it's like I feel like people are not getting. He made big plays last year, like a bunch of them. Yeah, so I don't know why. I don't know where this like top end speed issue is coming from. It's like the guy really dominated in college football last year, and it wasn't just catching like a zillion passes. It was like he was an explosive player.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not too much buying into it. I mean, he looked like the best wide receiver in that offense last year. He was so good. This year, he's going to be the guy. I think he's going to put up some crazy numbers. I would be surprised if he doesn't go in the top 15. Then you got Darnell Wright. He's a former 5-star from Tennessee. I've seen a little bit of him kind of doing my summer scouting. He is a good – you can tell why he was a 5-star. But he's got to be able to put it together a little bit more. A guy that has all the traits in the world to be a top 20 pick. I just want to see it a little bit more.
That's a guy I need to watch. Right?
Yeah.
He's not super on my radar, honestly.
And then he's not on many. This is the highest I've seen him. Quentin Johnson at 21. I'll take this one. He's right now kind of my wide receiver one. I'm a big fan of Quentin Johnson. 6'4", 190 pounds. He's got the long speed, but he also creates separation like the best of them. I mean, it's very rare to see a guy create separation and be as good after the catch like Quentin Johnson is. He has great body control as well. There's a lot to like in his game. And I feel like in the Sonny Dykes offense, he's going to get a little bit more of a chance to kind of produce. And I think he can really kind of show what he's got. And then right behind him, Jordan Addison. I'll keep rolling because I've done some wide receiver work. Jordan Addison's another guy that could be in a top 20 spot. Him, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnson, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and Kayshon Boutte are kind of the four wide receivers that I really think have like that top 20 stuff. We saw the run on wide receivers last year. I think those are the four that if four wide receivers go in the top 20, it will be those four. And then 23, Isaiah Foskey, a guy that I've seen a lot. We have a lot of Notre Dame fans on Twitter. They've been hyping this guy up. I got to get more film in on him. Dill, have you watched much film on him?
No, he's not a guy who – I mean, Notre Dame, I feel like I just wasn't watching a ton of them. They were playing really small games. And it just – they wasn't – They were. They didn't play the big dogs in the ACC, so you just feel like you weren't watching a ton of Notre Dame football last year.
Yeah, I think he's – I mean, 6'5", 260 pounds. He has the frame. I've seen pictures of him. Like, he looks the part of a top 20 pick. And then Antonio Johnson, he's a guy that I absolutely love. This dude, kind of like he plays that nickelback role, which is weird for a guy that's 6'3", but his movement skills and his ability to break on footballs are just next level. He's very good in run support too. Dax Hill vibes, Dill. He almost seems like kind of a box safety a little bit, but he plays that nickelback role, and he's kind of all over the field. And I think he's really going to be able to cook in this Texas A&M defense. And then Zay Flowers. This is the highest I've seen him. Dill, Zay Flowers, a guy that just vertically, I just did the BC summer preview. Vertically, there is not many wide receivers better than Zay Flowers. Now, 5'10", 172 pounds as a vertical threat. I can see why people would be a little bit nervous about taking him this high. But
also just an offense not conducive to building wide receiver play because they throw the ball very little.
They will get back to throwing it this year. With Dennis Grosel, I mean, Phil Yurkovich goes down at week 2. Dennis Grosel, that offense completely turned. It was actually, when I was doing the summer preview, painful to watch BC on offense. I mean, they look like the Pittsburgh Maulers. Just base run game. You're like 2nd and 7, 3rd and 3, and then they try to run it again to convert. It was pathetic. I'll use the word. But with Filyakovich coming back, I kind of pegged them as like that wide receiver quarterback duo that can really be special. Zay Flowers is certainly.
He's a guy to me. Does he put up big stats? I don't feel like you see his name up around it. I know he's like a highlight player, but does he catch like a lot of balls?
He's special. You got to get some eyes on him because they're in the COVID year when Filyakovich was healthy. Like this was a guy that was flashing. And that was him.
See, I always felt like it was a bit gadgety. Like,
No. He's vertically one of the best in the game. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to like him.
No, like, does he play, like, does he run good routes, or does he catch a lot of balls that aren't deep passes or end arounds or screens or all those other sort of.
I know what you mean.
Does he work the field like a Jordan Addison or Smith-Njigba, who
probably
because those guys all can. I mean, I get people don't think Smith-Njigba can do it, but I think he can get up top, but he also just does everything really well. So does Addison.
Yeah, Zay Flowers, like across the middle of the field, there's definitely – I mean, he's a 172-pound kid. He's not big. The frame is really small. Like, he's 5'10", and that might be generous. Like, this dude is not big. But, I mean, vertically tracking balls, he's very good. He's obviously very good with the ball in his hands. I'm excited. It's just you just did not see him do much work with that offense with Dennis Grosel in there. And so, again, this year with Filyakovich, I think they'll have a good offensive line. I really do think that Zay Flowers and Filyakovich will be guys rising up the boards. Now, are they going to be first-round picks? It seems a little rich for Zay. I mean, I like him. I'm hyping him up right now. But as a top 25 pick, I don't know about. Then Malik Cunningham, this one's tough. Like, over guys like Anthony Richardson, over guys like Spencer Rattler. Malik Cunningham just needs to show that he can throw the ball, pretty much.
The throwing, because he's a dynamic runner for sure. He's not like Lamar Jackson good, so the throwing needs to get meaningfully better, I would think.
Yeah, he's like pretty darn close to Lamar Jackson athletically. He's really special.
No,
that might be a boost.
Lamar Jackson was like the best athlete I've ever seen with my eyes.
Malik Cunningham's the best mobile running quarterback though in the country. 1,000 yards last year. Now, my big concern about him is not only does he need to show he can throw the ball, like Louisville runs a lot of play action bootlegs to get Malik Cunningham, which I love. Like that's his trait.
Yeah.
And they use it. But then are you going to be able to throw in the pocket? And that's like part of like what Lamar
style action for sure.
And that's part of like what's holding back Lamar a little bit is like when they force him to stay in the pocket and not use his legs to extend plays, you start to see some problems. So I'd be surprised if Malik Cunningham comes in the first round, but he does have a lot to like in his game. And then ZTF, Dill, your guy, you can take this one away.
Obviously coming off a torn Achilles, so you didn't see him a ton last year. But if you look back to the COVID year play, like I thought he's really good. And he's not like an elite bendy athlete, but a big, physical, long DN who I thought was good collapsing pockets and had enough athleticism to make you like worry about it.
I'm just so excited to see him healthy playing some football because I love what I see when he's on the field healthy, but it's just not enough. And here's another edge guy, Felix Azuma. From Kansas State. Dill, we watched him to do our summer preview. This guy has a lot to like. He's got some good work around the edge. He just kind of plays out of position. We mentioned it a little bit last week on our show. He's kind of playing like overhead up on tackles where it's like
they play the 3-man line. It's gross. And let him get on the edge.
And like the biggest thing is, they don't let him play like outside the tackle where he can use that explosiveness off the ball to kind of find the edge. They just don't let him do that. So he's a tough one to project, but you do like when you get to see him be like a true D end outside the tackle and rush the passer, he is very good at it. And then you got AR-15, Anthony Richardson. This is a projection of projections. Arik Gilbert's a projection. Anthony Richardson's a projection.
You saw the heights of Anthony Richardson were really good. And the thing is, when you compare him to like a Malik Cunningham or a Will Levis, like other guys who like to run, and that's a big part of their game, I feel like he, at the height of what he does, better thrower than both of them. So that's kind of my thing. It's like that. I mean, when you talk about a guy who can easily be number 3, and I'm guessing might be in a stable offense, he's kind of who I would think will be the third, has the best chance of being the third guy.
I know this is a lazy comp, but you can't take a look at his game and not think Cam Newton. Yeah, he's just got the build. He's got the fluidity when he's outside the pocket running. Like, he's a great pure ball carrier.
He has a
strong arm.
cannon.
He's got an absolute howitzer on him. You just got to tame that howitzer, and that's going to be if you. And it was. That,
hey, but I know you beat this drum a lot, but no one had a chance in that offense last year because they were subbing him in and out every other drive. It's like
exactly
there was just no way to have the steadiness that you need to see. So I'm like very excited. I hope to God he starts, and I really hope he puts a really good year out because he could be like a top 10 pick for sure.
Bijan Robinson coming in at pick 30. This is a little low for him. I mean, in a pure football player, he is a top 15 player in the class. And I could justify picking him in the top 20. And you guys know I don't love running backs. I didn't have a single running back rated with the first round grade last year. Bijan Robinson isn't a running back. He's an offensive weapon. How comfortable he is catching balls out of the backfield, how comfortable he is in space. He checks every single box. And so this guy's a first-round talent, 100%. I mean, you saw him run routes in the slot and look like a receiver. And that's how smooth this guy is mechanically moving. And so this would be low for him. I'm surprised to see him fall this low. And then my guy, Trenton Simpson, he's gonna take the country by storm this year. James Skoronski, Balin Spector, Clemson linebackers last year, they're good. They were the good college linebackers. Trent Simpson is different. He's the modern linebacker that you were looking for to play. He's a little undersized at 230. That might even be generous. He looks like he's like more 220, 225. But he bangs inside the tackle. He's inside the tackle box. Very good at taking on blocks, but he can do everything else well. Covering tight ends up the seam, check. Getting out to the flat and making tackles in space, check. Blitzing, check. This dude is a freak athlete. He's got great instincts. And this is going to be his first year where he's going to be like the essential part of that Clemson defense. He's going to have an easy job behind that Clemson defense line, and he is going to absolutely cook. And then finishing out with Jordan Battle. Dill, I know you've watched a lot of Bama. Jordan Battle's a guy that could have left last year. Close us out with your ideas on Jordan Battle here.
Ian, Jordan Battle's just like a really good safety. I think what probably you keep him a little down is he's not a man cover guy. I wouldn't say he's like a freaky athlete in the back, but he makes plays. He finds a way to get his hands on footballs. He's a physical tackler. So I think he's just a really solid safety. He definitely lacks the flash of a Kyle Hamilton or some of these other elite safeties you've seen in the past, but a really good safety for the back end of the first round. So really surprised he came back.
Which is rare to see with like thinking about all the safety classes, obviously leaving out Kyle Hamilton. There's not a ton of safeties coming out of school that don't check all the boxes or that check all the boxes. There's always kind of a flaw in their game. Jordan Battle, he's flawless, but he's also not, you mentioned it, he's also not the freak athlete like Kyle Hamilton was. So I do think like 20 to 32 would be a good range for him because he is so solid at all aspects of the game. There's just not, so he's not like a game changer. But he's not going to be bad for you either.
But he'll win you football. Like, he'll be a really steady, solid rock.
Exactly.
In the back end.
He's no Derwin James. He's no Kyle Hamilton, but he is a damn good football player at the back end for Alabama. I think he's just going to kind of improve his stock this year. I'd be very surprised if he's not a first-round pick coming out of this year in 2022. Yeah. And that'll do it for our 2023 NFL mock draft. Again, we appreciate you guys rocking with the ROC Boys. We're going to be back next Monday with a little something different for you guys on Mock Draft Monday. But until then, stay tuned, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.